We are just a few weeks away from leaving Palermo, and it's got me thinking of just some of the crazy things that I have witnessed, having lived in Palermo now for 2.5 years. And I thought it would be quite funny to share them with you in today's video, because I honestly don't think that you will see a lot of these things in other parts of Italy. And I think there is a reason why Sicilian people want to keep reminding you that Sicily is not Italy. So yeah, let's talk about these crazy things. So the first crazy thing I saw was actually just the other day. I witnessed a builder on the 4th floor of an apartment standing outside on the edge of the railing of the balcony without any safety harness, without any safety equipment, putting silicone on the outside of the veranda. I had goosebumps. I have never been so scared for someone in my life. Like, the 4th floor, anything could have happened. The balcony railing could have given way because it was a pretty old building. You know, he could have slipped and fell. The veranda itself might have become loose. Anything could have happened. And he was just there, just on the edge of the railing, applying this silicone with his silicone gun. It was crazy. And I have never, ever seen anything like that anywhere else. It goes against every health and safety law imaginable. But you see, there are, unfortunately, a lot of things like this that happen here in Sicily. And I don't know if it's because people are a little bit more relaxed when it comes to health and safety. Like, I see some crazy things, even on the street. I will see people climbing up ladders without anybody supporting the ladder. And, you know, I see this. It's not unusual. But I wonder, you know, in other parts of Italy, if this would be the same, because I think, you know, there is a great health and safety risk that a lot of workers are put under, especially if they feel that they have to do the job for money, for example. So this is something that really shocked me when I saw it just the other week, and it just reminded me of all of the fatalities that I've read about in the course of the time that I've been living here, from workers who have also had accidents at work due to negligence and, you know, a lack of health and safety. Number 2, the driving standards. I was always a little bit nervous about driving in Italy. Something about being on the opposite side of the road, something about, you know, being sure to understand the different road directions and signs. But I have never been so nervous about driving since living here in Palermo. The driving here is like, well, I think the clowns in the circus could drive better. People just do the craziest things. They will reverse without looking. They will move across the road without putting an indicator light on. They will drive right up your arse to try and get around you, even though you can't go anywhere because you have traffic in front of you. They will beep their horn consistently, like that is going to make a world of difference and suddenly make all the cars disappear. They will drive at you when you want to cross the road as a pedestrian. You are a major inconvenience for drivers here in Palermo, because clearly they have so much to do, the people here, that, you know, they cannot stop for 2 minutes to let you cross the road. It's something. And I'm honestly like in a state of anxiety every time I get into the car here. I've never seen anything like it. The people drive alone. I always say this, the people drive alone. My boyfriend says, and has said it for a long time now, that indicators are an optional extra in Sicily. They are not mandatory. And I think it's true. And it shocks me to see this level of driving. It shocks me as well to see such old people driving here as well. I have seen people who really, goodness, they shouldn't be behind the wheel. Maybe they are 80 or 90 years old, but their standard of driving is just dangerous, blatantly dangerous for other road users. But all of this is okay. And, you know, it takes me back to when I converted my driving license back in 2018 from a British license to an Italian one. And I remember I was getting all anxious about the eye test because I was thinking, goodness, what if they don't understand my pronunciation of the letters when I do the sight test? And literally the letters were presented to me like this. Literally anybody could have seen those letters. And I remember there was a man that left just before I had my slot. And he was so old and he could barely walk. And they gave him the okay to renew his license. Like, this is what I don't understand. I mean, that was in Salerno. So I think this is probably an Italy problem. But here in Sicily, the driving is something else. I have never seen such poor driving standards, and I've never seen such mashed up cars either. I'm going to use a bit of London slang here, but they are proper wrecks. I've seen cars which are shells with just the wheels driving around Palermo as if it's normal. It's not normal for me. It's not normal that you can have a nice car and it gets damaged here, because people do not respect your car when it comes to parking, when it comes to driving past your vehicle. They have no spatial awareness. And as such, they damage everything in sight. It's something. It really, really is. And my eyes have been opened wide since living here in Palermo, because the driving is shocking. And I think, if you're planning to move, particularly to this part of the world, brace yourself, because people say if you can drive, people used to tell me, if you can drive in Naples, you can drive anywhere. I'm going to scrub that, and I'm going to say if you can drive in Palermo, maybe plus Naples in brackets, you can drive anywhere in the world, for real. This is a very, very true thing. Number 3, the mentality. There is a peculiar mentality here in Palermo. I love it in Palermo, by the way, before everybody starts going, but why do you live there if you hate it? I know I'm leaving, but it's not because I hate Palermo. It is because of work reasons. But there is a mentality here. Palermo's a beautiful city, right? Don't get me twisted. Palermo is a really, really beautiful place. You walk around the center of Palermo, you see the incredible architecture. You can travel around and you can find really beautiful natural spots here in Palermo. The beaches are incredible. It's an amazing place, except the people here don't realize just how amazing it is, and they treat it as if it is a rubbish bin. An open rubbish bin, and it makes me so sad. The amount of fly tipping that you will see, especially when you drive out into country locations, is really, really sad. The amount of rubbish you will see just in residential areas, people just throwing their trash on the road and waiting for somebody else to pick it up. But there is such an ironic part to all of this, in the sense that for the majority of people who live here, their homes are meticulously clean, but they don't treat their environment in the same way. And that's a real pity, because Palermo could be something exceptional. However, the problems that we have with rubbish, the problems that we have with the overall cleanliness of the city really do let things down a little bit. And I think I struggle with that aspect, but I also struggle with the mentality of people who want to destroy the good works that other people do. So when I moved here back in 2022, I was absolutely privileged to have my book featured in an open air exhibition run by APA. And they did this most amazing thing where they allowed artists and writers and poets to have their work displayed as permanent street art pieces in the historical centre of Palermo. It was amazing. And you can go around Palermo now and see it, and my work included. But some brainless idiots decided it was great to vandalize these pieces and to spray graffiti and to damage these pieces that have been displayed all around the city to try to humanize parts of the city that were quite degraded. It's really, really sad. And as a result, APA pulled the project in Palermo. And as far as I know, they're not going to be investing into Palermo in that way anymore. And that's a real shame. So all you have now are, the pieces of artwork that were displayed 2-3 years ago. But there's not going to be any new projects or new investment made because people here didn't appreciate it. I mean, how can you not appreciate something good that is being done for your city to try to make it beautiful? I cannot understand. And, this is it. This is one of the things that really bugs me about living here. And, I think, people who have this attitude deserve to live in slums. And then they would appreciate what they actually have. Because you can find poor quarters of Palermo, absolutely. The Zen neighbourhood is one such example. However, not all of Palermo is like that, except people don't look after their neighbourhoods, so it starts to resemble places that, lack love and investment and attention. But if everybody just paid a bit more attention to their environments and to looking after their city, and they were as patriotic about the cleanliness of their city as they are about the city's football team or anything else that they are passionate about, Palermo would look a lot different to the way it does today. And I think, this is something that I cannot wrap my head around. This place has everything, but there is a mentality that absolutely destroys anything good that could come out of it. And that for me is pretty difficult to understand. The fourth thing that I have really noticed living here is that you are constantly reminded about the wealth that was once present in this particular part of Italy, because even today we were driving around and I drove past 2 villas that were, derelict, but they were beautiful. You could see they were in massive grounds and you could see like the statues and, just how beautiful and stunning those buildings would have been back in the day. But now they are just locked up and they are just memories of what once was on this particular island. And it makes me sad because I understand that these properties require investment. I understand maybe some of these properties are privately owned, so it's not easy for people to kind of get involved and try to, refurbish them and make use of them. But there's something that's got to be done. Like, I think of all of the amazing projects that could be done with buildings like this, all of the public spaces that could be created, places for homeless people to live. Like, there is so much that could be done with places that have been left in squalor. And I cannot understand why we do this. It's almost like, to rub your face in it. Like, everybody here talks about how Sicily was once this really rich part of Italy and how the wealth gradually migrated to the north of the country. And it's almost like this is the constant reminder that people have here of how good things once were. It's a shame. And I think, sometimes we almost like to continuously punish ourselves for the past and for things that have happened. But you don't need to. You can let the past be what it was and you can create something different now in the present that is going to create a different future for the people that live in this city and on this island. But it ties back into the mentality. People have got to want to do this in the first place. And unfortunately, I don't see enough people with that mentality living here. And that's why I think this place will always be stuck a little bit in a time warp, because it's constantly reminding itself of all the failings that it's undergone as an island and as a city, rather than trying to find a way to progress and to make things better. Problems with bureaucracy. This had to be on this list because this was the first place I moved to where I really suffered my first problems with bureaucracy. Salerno was a dream compared to what I had to deal with here. If you have to go to the Office for Stranieri, which is the office for foreigners, people who are not citizens of Italy, it is one of the worst places in the world to go to. I think pretty much anywhere in Italy, but here in Sicily, it is like hell on earth. And I don't say that lightly. Not only are you made to feel like you are under the shoe of the Italian government because they don't even have a queuing system, you cannot make an appointment, you arrive and, you arrive early, like maybe 1 or 2 hours before the office opens, and there is already a makeshift list that one of the people who is waiting has created, not an official list from the office, and you're like number 60 on the list. I mean, hello, I've been there. That was my experience. And then you go into these offices and you see how understaffed they are, and the people don't have any patience in these offices. They're stressed out. They have too much work to do. They've got like 100 or 150 people waiting outside who they have to try and see in like 3 or 4 hours. It's insane. And my experience was just horrible, to put it lightly. I must admit, like the same office in Salerno, there were people there that were rude and obnoxious, yes, but here it felt worse. It really, really did, specifically because they didn't know how to deal with me, coming from the UK, having lived here pre-Brexit and now living here post-Brexit. A simple thing as a residency change took 6 months because they didn't know what to do, even though it was a really simple process. So it's this, and I hate to say it, but it's something that you must know if you're really tempted to move to this part of the world, because the bureaucracy is not easy in Palermo. And it's a shame because Palermo is the capital city of Sicily. Like, don't get it wrong. Like, some people really believe the capital cities should be the place where, you know, the efficiency is the best and, you know, it's the best place in Italy to live, but it isn't necessarily so. So Palermo is the capital city of Sicily. I wouldn't say it's the best part of Sicily to live in. Rome is the capital city of Italy. Again, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best part of Italy to live in, and people who live in there will constantly tell me the same as well. Rome, if we're going to talk about Rome for a moment, is a very busy, chaotic city. It's also very expensive as well. So it's not necessarily the best place to live in, and it can be quite dirty as well. So it's the irony, isn't it, where capital cities here in Italy don't really mean anything. It doesn't mean that they're any better to any other place, to be honest. But yes, bureaucracy here has been an absolute nightmare. And it's one of the things I'm really thankful to be leaving behind, because I struggle to understand how it can be so difficult to arrange bureaucracy here, to sort things out and to be organised. I really do. So yeah, I'm happy that that is something I don't have to deal with here anymore. Another thing that has really shocked me about living here is just how trusting people can be. Like, if you know someone and you have to get some work done or you need to do something, a lot of the time those people will tell you that you can come back later and pay for the work. You don't have to do it now. You know, they don't necessarily expect payment at the exact moment that they do the job. This is something that I'm not used to, because I come from the UK where, you know, people are a little bit more cautious when it comes to doing work, and they want to see money up front, and they don't necessarily want to do anything unless there is a deposit in place. But here, it's not for everybody. Of course, there are some companies here who are very cautious and will expect deposits, and they expect to see the money before they begin the work. But for a lot of companies here, they are very trusting, especially if they know you and there is some kind of a connection. And, you know, I'm not used to that. And that shocked me a little bit, just how trusting people can be here, because I don't always think that's the best thing. Sometimes I think you do have to have boundaries in place, because people can take liberties and advantages if you don't. But yeah, I've noticed that, and that really surprised me here. It's a beautiful thing on one hand, but on the other hand, I think when it comes to business, you must have those boundaries in place. I don't think it's necessarily the best way to conduct yourself. Overall, I think Palermo is a beautiful city, and I have no regrets about living here in the past 2.5 years. In fact, I've said in a few videos, I actually think I found myself here, ironically enough, despite all of its flaws. And it's made me stronger and wiser and, you know, ready for the next chapter in my Italian journey. But I will say that I hope that one day Palermo can find itself, because it is such a shame to see a place with so much potential kind of not live up to it and almost, you know, ruin itself. So that would be my wish for this city. But there have been so many things that have surprised me. Today is just a little summary of some of the key ones that came to mind. But this is life here, and you have to like it or lump it. This part of the world is not for everybody. If you want efficiency and you want order, you most definitely wouldn't move to the south of Italy, and certainly not to Sicily. So you have to have your eyes wide open when you choose to move to Italy. You have to have an awareness of what life can be like. But I hope this video has helped. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'll enjoy this one right here next, and I will see you in the next video.